What are the most, common reasons that platforms fail, or what, in your experience, and what are maybe the data show? Why do platforms essentially fail?
Yeah, this is very important because it will lead to some tricks and practices that might decrease the odds of failure. But a colleague of mine at the Harvard Business School, David Yoffie, along with someone from MIT, took the trouble to actually count 250 startups in the last 5 years that were platform in nature. And I think his time period was more like 10 years, because it did include Google and it included Airbnb and so on. And so what he came up with at the end was, of the 250, 5 became enormously large and very successful, some of the biggest businesses in the world. 38 of them were successful, but not all profitable. One of the things that you find is that investors like platforms because they are asset light, they don't have many assets, and because they're digital, they can grow very fast. And so it isn't necessary to be profitable if you've got a good story and you've proved that your platform attracts users on both sides of the platform. So 38 plus the 5 that were enormously successful, that leaves 209. And those 209 all failed. So of his sample of 250, he found the 209 failed, and they all failed within 5 years. Some of them failed within a year. Now, the single commonest reason why they failed was that they could not attract their 2 kinds of customer. I mean, Airbnb struggled for a while because the guest is not going to call Airbnb if Airbnb has no properties. And in that sentence, I want you to see that what I'm saying is there's usually at the start one side of the 2 sides that's harder to recruit than the other. So when they eventually got enough properties, they were able to find people willing to use them instead of a bed and breakfast service or a hotel service, because now they could deliver what the guest wanted. But how did they get the hotels and the properties, not the hotels, the properties in the first place? Well, they had to do some extraordinary things. One of them, which is described in an article on the subject, was to hack other websites that were offering accommodation. They would scrape the websites and then email the people who'd advertised on the website and say, why don't you try us as well? We'll give you a free listing. And people did that. And so slowly people began to discover that Airbnb would work. Once they had a critical mass, then they'd solved that problem. So if you've got an idea, you've solved the friction problem, your next question is, how do I recruit to the 2 sides of the platform? And then the third question is, which of those 2 sides is going to be most difficult? And then what's my trick for recruiting people to that most difficult side of the story? This becomes, in a way, your protection once you're established against somebody imitating the business, because they're going to face the same problems you had. Not going to be that easy to recruit either one side or the other, or sometimes both sides of the platform. Now, the next problem, so I've given you like 3 steps to thinking about how to minimize failure. But the biggest single problem beyond recruiting was getting the pricing of the 2 sides of the platform wrong. Many businesses failed because they didn't see that pricing a platform is a subtle business and has to be done carefully. So your where are we up to? 4. Your 4th decision is, how do I price each side? And sometimes the answer for one side is free. You may not think of it this way, but a nightclub is a platform. It's a platform that does the matching service of matching young men and young women. So which is the side that's hardest to recruit? Clearly women. What's the right price for women? Free. So it's quite common to find nightclubs that will give, free drinks to women and make men pay for the drinks. Well, that's an example of pricing one side of the platform at the level that maximally attracts the people who are needed on that side of the platform. So getting that right, free is not a great solution. It's more of a desperation move, but sometimes it's necessary, particularly at the beginning. A magazine or a newspaper, those are both platforms in the sense that they have advertisers and they have readers. Sometimes you have to give away the magazine or the newspaper. In other words, price it free to the reader so that you can price it higher for the advertiser. Because advertisers obviously buy based on circulation, and if you haven't got circulation, well, you've got to get it. On the other hand, free is associated with low quality frequently, so maybe you have to try to induce people to pay, and that's where you get into techniques like a free sample or a free for a month, and then we'll raise the price. So getting people used to the operation of the platform, but inducing the scarce commodity, which is in that case, the reader, inducing the scarce commodity to try the process. So mispricing was a common discovery among David Yoffe's study of why things failed. And that's, I guess, it's remarkable how quickly those failures occurred. Within 5 years, those businesses that were mispriced or couldn't build the volume had failed. Volume is an easy thing in a sense if you're first and you get into the marketplace fast. So another common mistake is to think you can copy an existing platform. You almost certainly can't. Because there's a first mover advantage and there's this little brand question that I mentioned some time back. You're trying to build a brand that says, we will solve that friction problem. And if someone's already done it, well, then it's a tough game.